Are you tired of drawn out and overcomplicated lessons to master the elements of art? Well, search no more. Hi, I'm Emily, and today I'm going to show you how to take your shading from this to this. Okay, so getting into shading, the first thing I'm going to go over is what materials you'll want to have. Now, I'm not going to give a huge list of overexpensive materials because honestly, in my opinion, you can use whatever materials for art. So here I just have some nice plain drawing paper. You can get anything like this at Walmart. You just want to get something that's very nice and smooth. Lined paper tends to be a little bit thin, but hey, when you're starting out, it doesn't really matter too much. The other thing is you want to get yourself a good graphite pencil. You could use a mechanical pencil if you really want, but I find that these blend better, and in shading, the better you blend, the easier it's going to be. My personal favorite is Prismacolor Ebony in Jet Black Extra Smooth. It works great for starters. It was my starter pencil, and I highly recommend it for you. You can get it for a pretty good price, and I'll link it down in the description. If you don't have that, then it's okay. You can go out and get yourself a standard drawing pencil from Hobby Lobby. These work just as great. The other thing you might want that's pretty optional is a blending stick. You can actually make one of these pretty easily too. And they're not too expensive, but if you don't have a blending stick, then you can always just use a little paper towel or use the tip of your finger to just slightly rub, but don't rub it too hard. Don't want to miss any skin. So, getting into shading, I'm going to take my pencil here. To understand shading, we have to understand light. And what I mean by that is that every single thing has a value, a darkest value and a lightest value. Your lightest value is where the light or your light source is hitting first. And then the darkest value is the value at the very bottom where there's barely any light hitting. So to understand this and just simplify it, I'm gonna draw a little sun right here, just for visual representation. Okay, here's our sun. I'm gonna start with a very basic shape first, and you can too. I am going to start with a little cube, just a little one. Now, our light is going to hit a certain point. Light rays come down from the sun, so you can almost imagine it as an arrow pointing towards the cube. The light is going to hit where the arrow points, so it's going to hit around here. Now, if our light was down here, shining up, then it would hit here. If our light was here, it would hit here, here. You get the point. And the other thing we want to look at is where is the light not hitting? The furthest point from our light is going to be down here at the bottom of the cube. So what that means is that this is going to be darker, this is going to be lighter. Simple. Now, in my opinion, I like to start darker and go to lighter. I just find that it works better, it's more natural, and helps you control your values more. So I'm going to start with the darkest place back here, which is this little area where the sun isn't quite hitting. Since our light is hitting up here, I can imagine that this part of the cube might have a little bit of light rolling over. So I'm going to start at the bottom, just gently working my pencil, and as I go up, I'm going to release my pressure from the pencil, just to create a nice little effect. And I'm going to go to the top. And it's always best to start lighter and then go darker, because it's easier to apply value than it is to pick it up. And I know it looks a little bit grainy right now, but that's what our blending stick or finger will come in handy with later. Here's our darker side, and I might go back and retouch that here in a second. Now we're going to focus on this top part, which is where the most light is going to be hitting in this corner. I'm going to start from this area, which will probably be the darkest, and again, I'm just lightly releasing my pressure as I move over to the side where the light is hitting it. You can see some areas I'm not even touching with the graphite, and then I'm going back in later. It's a great technique. You'll get your own style and sense of doing that the better things go on. And it's always okay to take your eraser and retouch these areas. Just make sure you have a nice powerful eraser, otherwise you'll get a lot of smudging, and smudging is a little bit gross. Doesn't matter if you're a beginner though. So now I'm going to go over here. This is our darkest part, this is our lightest part. Starting from the bottom, working our way up. And again, I'm just going light and then moving darker. It's always easier to remove values, and there's nothing wrong with erasing. There is no such thing as a mistake. Okay, so we've got a pretty decent little cube here. I'm gonna go ahead, take my blending stick, and I'm going to move from the bottom up, and I'm just going to lightly rub. Some people, you see them get blending sticks and they really press down and get aggressive. You don't need to do that. Just lightly rub upwards. See that nice gradient there? So, here's a little basic cube. Is it the best? No, but it's pretty accurate. So, moving on from our cube, we're gonna try a more advanced shape. Taking my pencil, I'm gonna draw out another little sun for visual representation. Now this is one that I think people tend to overcomplicate. In reality, it's pretty simple. So we're gonna do a sphere. Just draw a little circle there. Doesn't need to be perfect. Okay, I'm gonna draw our arrow heading down. Now the sphere isn't like the cube. You don't have all these little geometric kind of areas to help guide you. The sphere, you're going to have to think a little bit outside of the box. And I find one of the things that helps with spheres for some people is actually to do a little mini sphere of where the light's hitting. So the light's hitting the top here, which makes me think that it'll have a little round shape. The sphere is rounded, so when you shade, you don't want to do stiff back and forth motions. You want to do more kind of curved motions moving up. So again, this is going to be my darkest area since the light is the furthest away from here, and the light here is hitting, so this is going to be my lightest area. Again, don't go really dark at the beginning. You'll just end up messing yourself up. Just move slow, come back to it, you know. Don't rush, take your time. It's just practice. Nobody has to be perfect. So here's a pretty decent little sphere. We're gonna go ahead and take our blending stick, and using the same motions as our pencil, we're going to lightly apply and do the little curves motions upwards. Again, don't press with your blending stick, otherwise you'll get too concentrated of a value and it might not look so realistic. I'm gonna go in and I'm gonna retouch this bottom area with a little bit of a darker shade, and you can always retouch after blending. In fact, it's great to go back in and reevaluate your work and always strive for improvement. So, here's our lovely little sphere. We can see the light starts here, goes to dark. That's what we want. So, starting with simple shapes is a great thing. Practice these over and over again until you get it right, or at least until you feel yourself having some sort of improvement. And then, once that works, start looking at other items. Let's go ahead and look at a different item. Other items are no different, they're just at a different shape. Let's actually look at this pencil here. So, we can see that the light is hitting on the very top. this side is darker. The bottom, you can't really see from here, but where I see it has this dark shadow running under, that's a pretty dark value. And just simplify values. And the other thing to consider is, things don't have outlines like this. Like a cube doesn't really have an outline. It just appears that it does to our eye. So train your eye to start getting rid of these outlines. I'll go ahead and do an example of no outline. So I'm going to draw a little sun right here. And sometimes this just helps visualize. Eventually you'll find you don't need it, but when I was starting, this was absolutely great for me. And I'm actually going to kind of do a little triangle. You're noticing I'm doing it lighter because, again, naturally things don't have a dark outline. They do have a little bit of outline, but that's just because of shadow. And shadow can be a different lesson if anybody's interested. My darkest part's at the bottom here. Going ahead and getting my darkest value. The light's hitting, I know I kind of drew it off to the side, but the light is, I'm supposed to be hitting here. So I'm going to go ahead and do the darkest side, which is going to be this side. Again, starting from the bottom, working my values up. And now I'm taking my blending stick, using the same motions, applying light pressure, letting the blending stick do the work for me. And I'm actually going to go in with a little bit of an eraser here and just touch up the top parts, make it a little lighter, take a little value out. So this is a basic lesson on shading. I can always do a more advanced one later. Go ahead and leave a comment if you have any questions or you'd like to see a different concept of art, something like maybe shape or further lessons in values. I'd be happy to answer or maybe even reply with another video. Please subscribe or like if you enjoyed this video and would like to see more. Thanks for watching. Bye.